Let's see here. Our next climber is Danny. Danny actually came up climbing through the EAC climbing team. He was pretty strong, you know, going in. I think he started climbing when he's about 11 or so. I think he's about 14 or 15 during this. This beginning boulder problem is kind of my little addition to it. I wanted to make the route as long as possible so we didn't have to have any real definitive cruxes in it. We may or may not have succeeded in that. It's Peter Bonamici on the left with the hat, and I'm trying to point out some data to Danny, as I try to do to everybody. Just want everyone to get as high as possible. This boulder problem in the beginning, you know, it's definitely no stopper moves, but it's just kind of thin, maybe like a V2. It's just enough to kind of get you a little bit pumped before you kind of enter the main route, and then it's kind of a diagonal. So at the end of the day, the route probably ends up being about 80 or 85 feet. And Danny using his arms a lot. Pretty difficult. It's pretty and then the parking lot shot. There's probably about 20, 30 people watching you, so definitely kind of grip a little bit harder, get a little bit more pumped kind of during this. But Danny, probably more than anybody else out of our three finalists, is familiar with this wall, so he's pretty good with the footwork and that kind of stuff. Jeremy Bloomfield is taking the video on this right now. He's the director for the walls. And to the right there is Mike Chung hanging. Any excuse to take some pictures of any competition he can, he'll be on it. So right here, Danny's coming to the kind of mini crux. It's three very thin crimps. That's kind of like a side pull you can see. Step up. Most people clip off the undercling. Danny's coming out right. He's going to clip off the right crimp. And if you're observant, you'll see that the hold he's going to right now is actually not taped. Right before the finals, Jesse and Petey, the two route setters, decided to change it, and they forgot to tape that hold, so we just told everybody at the bottom. So Danny's kind of firing through the roof sequence right now. The hold on his right is a huge jug, and the hold on his left is kind of a crimp. So, and it's kind of hard to tell, but he's on the right side of him is an arret that he was just toe hooking, and he can kind of get it pretty good. So here Danny crosses, and right about here is when he realizes that he shouldn't have. So he's kind of making up his mind whether to try to down climb or match hands. He's got pretty thin fingers, so he could probably get the match. But he just kind of, I think, burns too much juice and just obviously comes off. But very strong showing by Danny. And our third and final climber is Greg, as you can see. And every time I have Greg in one of my competitions, it always makes me curse not having a time limit on these routes, because the kid just rests forever, which is great. It's how you're supposed to climb, but people are like starting to leave during his resting. He literally rests that long. So I probably cut about 6 or 7 minutes out of this route while he's resting. I don't know, maybe we'll put on like the bonus features or something.
You're right.
Greg's climbed at a couple of competitions on the wall.
I just remember Greg's climbing, and he can rest for a really long time, and it gets a little boring on film.
And I think he actually steps off here, and we just kind of yelled at him to come back down, so he down climbs, gets foot out, clips off the lower hold. Greg is doing most of his climbing out of Hidden Peak these days, coached by Dave Hudson. And right here he finds kind of a frog rest right here, and he stays in his position for about at least 3 or 4 minutes. So lucky for you, I figured out the cutting feature, so basically we'll see him kind of after that. And that's, you can see the hold, all the holds are kind of thin, sharp, pretty good holds, but again, you're using the same grip over and over again, so it gets pretty pumpy. So here Greg comes out of the rest into the thinner crimp sequence. And taking a little rest. Crossing to the tapeless hold, and then good natural outright, and up into 2 hit strip pinches, which are really kind of fun. That's like at a dead roof right there. And then Greg is going to rest here for about 45 minutes. So again, very good technique. Aspiring comp climbers at home should definitely, not exactly action-packed. So Greg finally launches into the roof crux sequence, gets the heel, goes up, and pops immediately. He was, you know, wishes that he hadn't rested that long to pop up at the next move. So yeah, so that's our competition. It was Greg obviously won by getting control of one move higher, and the whole head wall, the top section past the roof, was pretty wet. So I think the climbers did as best they could on it.